Well, welcome to this month's Wax on Wax Record Club. I appreciate y'all showing up. My name is Bryn. I feel like I never say my name now. I think I just jump into it, but my name's Bryn. I go by Birdman, whatever you want to call me, B. So I appreciate y'all coming out this month. This is our, fifth or sixth one, and I'm really excited about this. This month, I decided to pick Snoop Dogg's Doggystyle because it has a special place for me, for one. For two, it's 30 years. It's been 30 years since, it'll be 30 years this year, in November, since the album came out, which is crazy. I mean, I can't believe that. We're talking about all these anniversaries this year, 50 years of hip hop, 50 years, or 30 years of Snoop Dogg. 50 Cent is on his 20-year tour from Get Rich or Die Trying, which is crazy. This is stuff I remember. I'm sure we all remember these, like, dropping like yesterday. You can, think about the days and the time where you were at and how you felt first time you heard that album. And for this, Snoop Dogg's Doggystyle was the first album that I listened to as a kid that I feel like I can actually grasp and understand. Because I was 9 then, right? 39 now, 30 years. And it was the first first album that I could like really grasp and understand. And obviously I have been hearing hip hop. It was all around me. I had family, who was always listening to, Run DMC, Rakim and Eric B, so NWA, LL Cool J. So I heard everybody, but it was the first album that I really connected to. And I would play all the time. I wasn't supposed to be playing it, obviously, because I'm 9 years old, but I'll stand with my dad, like, whatever, My mom had knew I was listening to it. It shit would have been a rap, like, not happening. So, it was the first album that I just, like, played just front to back constantly, till I got to a point where I knew every word. I'm a 9-year-old kid, know every cuss word on there. I probably learned cuss words because of Snoop Dogg, honestly. I don't know if that's a good thing or bad thing for him, but it was just it had that impact, had that kind of impact. But you think about it now, you think about it deeper. It's just not the impact on me or the impact on us. The place that album has in not just hip hop history, but just music history, period. I feel like Snoop Dogg with that album, the West Coast was around, obviously. You had, you had Ice-T, you had NWA, you had Too Short. There were other artists who were out back then, MC8. There were other artists who were out back then before Snoop. So there was a presence, obviously, of the West Coast. We know that, right? But I think when Snoop came along, he firmly established that the West Coast is here to stay. We're expanding this music outside of New York. It's not a niche regional thing where it's y'all all own it and, there's these pockets. And I think Snoop also showed that there was more than just storytellers. Like, everybody they thought of West Coast music as like storytellers. They were, like NWA said, we reporting the news, we reporting live from the hood. That's what we're telling the hood story that they refuse to tell on TV. And so when you had Snoop come along, it was a little bit different because to me, Snoop, I feel like was probably one of the first lyrical rappers. I mean, Death Row period, they had a squad. Like, when they dropped, they had a hell of a squad. Like, you had Corrupt. I think Corrupt's one of the most underrated artists. I mean, Corrupt, his lyrical ability is fucking insane, crazy, right? And then you had Daz. Daz no slouch either. Great producer also, underrated producer. Another, underrated aspect. And then you had Snoop. Everybody thinks of Snoop as this fun-loving guy. And he is, but everybody forgets Snoop's background. When he talks about his background, he came up from the battle scene. He was a battle rapper, and he talks about that all the time. He's like, I didn't know how to write music. He didn't know how to write music until he said he got with Domino, the rapper Domino, who made what was that song? Here we go. I forgot the rest of the words. But he said he got with him, and he said Domino was a little bit more melodic than him. And he said with that, it helped him learn how to actually write songs and go from a ballad. He's like, I wanted to be aggressive all the time and just go at you, but that's where I learned how to actually write music. So he came with that ability. They all came with that. Hell, Lady of Rage. Lady of Rage is, you know, I mean, it's crazy that she never dropped the album. But I mean, but the people you're around and that kind of atmosphere, she had to stand out. She knew she had to. I'm a chick. I gotta come in here and show these niggas I belong just the same as all of y'all. So they came with all of that, and Snoop just, you know, it was just something different about him to show the rest of the world that, hey, you know, the West Coast got some real rappers over here. We got some real lyricists. We got some, you know, we got some dudes who could pop. We're not just storytellers. Yeah, we do tell stories, and yeah, we are reporting live. That's what we supposed to do. That's what we here for. That's what music had been doing. You know, there were songs like The Message. These Are the Breaks. They had the breaks. You know, those songs are all about. They were conscious songs. So yeah, the storytelling aspect was there, but Snoop brought something else different to the table, and it firmly established the West Coast. And if you think about it, at that time, it snatched the crown away from New York. New York was the birthplace, right? We're celebrating 50 years of hip hop. We know that. We know that it came from the Bronx. If it wasn't for the Bronx, there would be no hip hop, right? But other regions were starting to get involved. It wasn't just New York anymore. You had the South starting to put rappers out there. Scarface, the Ghetto Boys, you know, Luke. They had their flavor. It was people coming out of the South End. It was some people, like I mentioned earlier, coming out of the West Coast, people coming out of the Midwest. But it was still mostly New York dominant. And I feel like when Death Row first came along, they were the first label to kind of threaten that. We're gonna do it. But when Snoop dropped Doggystyle, that's when it actually happened. And you saw for the first, you know, for about a good 4 or 5 years, the West Coast ruled hip hop. And even when New York kind of came back a little bit in the late 90s and kind of pulled things back, that album, I think, firmly established that, well, the West Coast is just going to be here forever. We're here now. And that thus expanded hip hop to where we have hip hop is at now today. It's the dominant music. It's the global music. It's the most played music. It's the most influential music. You know, everybody has an element of hip hop in their music now. But that's due to these kind of things. And that was the first time that you really saw that grasp, that pull away from New York. Say, like I said, we're here and we're here to stay. And it came with Snoop Dogg. So I wanted to talk about that and bring that album to the table this month and talk about the history of that album, where we think the history of it lands. I want to talk about that with all of y'all. I want to talk about the you know, there were cartoons then that were kind of doing that. The Simpsons were kind of doing that a little bit. But Snoop did this, and it's almost like the door was kicked open. And I'm not saying this is all that led way to, you know, we got raunchy cartoons on TV left and right now. You know, you got whole channels dedicated to it now. So, but it was on the cusp of that. So the controversy behind that and the history of it. But what we want to do first, as always, is we want to get into the music. So this month we're gonna bust it out in threes, and then we're gonna come back and we're gonna discuss the songs that we heard. And I want everybody's feedback, and just let me know what you guys think about, like I said, the things that, the place that this album lands in history, what it means to you, how you felt, where you were, you know, when you first heard the album. Like, does it take you back there? Do you reminisce? You know, how you feel about it now? I want to know all that. So we'll get into it, y'all. So let's get into the first song.